Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Still Stoke Chat. I have got the amazing Laura Enever here. I'm in her garage, which is great.
Yes,
thanks for
the
having
pink
me.
garage. Thank you for coming up here.
It's exciting because tomorrow your movie's out.
I know, I cannot believe it. The film that we worked like 2.5 years on and then had to cancel the tour with everything going on is finally going to be out to the world. So
Tomorrow.
yeah, myself and the team are super stoked. You live with Steve, the director, so I'm sure you're just seeing everything from
It's been a roller coaster living with Steve as well, living with the director of it. 'Cause, it's 2 years filming and
Totally.
and it's not doing trips like that. It's not like, okay, I'm going to the Maldives or the Mentawais and I know we're going to have consistent surf.
Yeah.
And
like the tickets are booked like months in advance. It's like you see the swell, you drop everything and you go and
yeah. So how was that? Like so you were on tour for 10 years, right? Ziggy.
Oh, here's Ziggy. Do you want to come up here? Come on.
Come in, Ziggy.
You can sit up here.
Yeah.
He wants to be in the chat.
So yeah, 10 years on tour, right?
Well, yeah, I was basically doing the QS for about 3 or 4 years, 3 years, and then did the world tour for 7 years.
Yeah.
And I guess the year before I fell off the tour, that was when I decided to go to Jaws and try to compete, and I got injured there. And then that next year, I just sort of fell apart and fell off the tour, and there was only one injury wildcard, so I didn't get that one. And after that, I was like, well, I could either go back to the QS and wait a year to get back on the tour, or I think going to Jaws had changed my whole perspective and had like really just like lit this fire for me to just like, all I could think about was like, I have a torn MCL, but all I can think about is going back to Jaws and catching a wave, and I was just only consumed with how I could surf big waves after that. So I'm so stubborn, I was like, okay, let's just scrap the tour. I tried to do a couple of contests and I was like, I can't even get in the headspace. And then I was like, scrap it. I'm just going to go and try to do this big wave journey.
Was it like just one day you woke up and you just, the small waves of the QS and it just wasn't fun anymore, like the competing side?
Well, it was funny the way it happened. Like I just remember maybe 2015, I was kind of like, doing the contest, and I was doing about 20 comps a year. You do 10 of the World Tour events, and I would also do the QS because I was always on that cut off the bubble, which is, it's my fault, but it's, I have to go to the QS, and by that stage,
doing 2 tours.
So yeah, doing 2 tours, 20 comps a year, just so much traveling, and I was just getting so run down and so sick, and just was surfing these crappy waves, and I was like, I am not even like enjoying this like slog anymore. And so I was like, next year I'm just gonna like promise myself in 2016 that I'm just gonna go on surf trips in between the comps. I'm like, I just need to go surf good waves. So I remember the year started and I went to like P-Pass and got like the best waves of my life, and I came home and won like the Australian Open, my first comp in like 5 years. Yeah,
it was so good. You were like, I won something.
I know, I finally won something.
So
honestly, it was literally that was really cool, because like I'd come home from this like dream surf trip that I had like decided that I was going to do, and then I came home and I was just so like high on life after that surf trip that I just went and won the QS and was like beating all the girls that I would surf against on the tour, and it was local. And the crazy thing was, probably the other contest that I'd won was the World Juniors, and it was also after a comp. It was also after a trip to P-Pass. Like the 2 biggest comps that I've won in like the last 5 years were after these amazing surf trips. And then, I don't know what's up with that. But
you mentioned that in the book, in the Undone book as well. I read that you mentioned it in your interviews. That's kind of like a special little. Yeah, P-Pass must hold a little.
Totally.
In your heart.
I think it's just like I started realizing how happy I was, and I remember after the Oz Open, I was just like. So that was amazing that I won. It was kind of like a relief, like I finally got a win after all that time. And then I had a bit of, just time to think, and I was like, what felt better, like winning the contest or like those waves that I was getting and those incredible surfs and those barrels and stuff that I was getting in P-Pass. And I was kind of like, that was what it was, the waves in P-Pass and that free surfing side of stuff. So I think, throughout that year I went to Fiji and went on another swell chasing trip there, and I think I went on one more trip, maybe to Indo, and then by the end of the year, Peter Mill and the WSL had asked me to go and compete in Jaws. And yeah, so that's when I got injured, and yeah.
Is that when you did your MCL at Jaws?
Yeah, that's when I did my MCL.
Yeah.
But yeah, after that I was, just like, let's just scrap this and go do free surfing. And so I didn't even know that I was going to do what I've done though. Like I didn't actually know how far I would take. I thought maybe I'd just go surfing in Indo or like Fiji again and just go to more warm water places. And then I met Steve, and then we were like, oh, maybe we'll make a little web series. And then the next minute, I was down in Shipsterns to watch and ended up catching a wave there, and that's where Undone sort of started.
Yeah. And these aren't like, the waves that you're surfing, they're not just like big waves. They're like slabs.
Yeah.
So to explain what that is, it's like really deep water going onto a rock shelf essentially that kind of just folds into like a bodyboarding hole.
Oh my gosh.
And it's probably, some of them are better for bodyboarders and surfers, right?
Yeah. I mean, some of them are like not even like, it's not even possible to even paddle into them. So that's why you use the jet ski to get into them. And they're so wild. I remember I kind of, after I got this massive wipeout at Shipsterns, I was like, okay, I'm going to go start again and learn from the start and sort of just go back to, the beginning of, the beginning of the journey for me, and sort of work my way back up. And I remember, going down the coast to all these waves and kind of relearning how to surf these slabby waves. And it's so different to surfing normal waves because there's so much water pulling up. It's so easy to just get sucked over, and you really have to like work out what lines you're going to take on the wave and where to put your weight and stuff. So it's a whole new world.
Have you done much toe surfing before?
No, my first toe wave was that one that I did that big cartwheel on at Shipsterns.
That was the first time you ever towed. You went to Shipsterns
Yeah,
to tow.
we can probably put that in the clip.
Oh, yeah.
Put a little overlay.
Yeah, I'll get the footage from Steve and put an overlay in it. Wow. How, so Shipsterns is in Tasmania and it's pretty gnarly. Is that when Mark Matthews broke his back? Or his leg maybe? No, he broke his leg down at somewhere on the south coast, a wave down there. It's had lots of casualties.
Yeah, I think someone did break their back. Oh, maybe Jughead
recently, yeah.
He's like, a lot of it's just, it's like,
huge.
It's huge
and cold.
It's so cold. And you're up against this huge cliff face, and the first time I saw it, you had to walk 2 hours into it, or it's like an hour boat ride to get to Shipsterns. And the first time I got there, I finally, finished the walk in and saw the wave, and like my stomach just like was so sore.
Did you go to check it out?
No, I just went to check it out, and I like took a board in case I was like, I'll paddle, in case I paddled out, but I was not really planning on surfing.
Yeah.
I was kind of just
going to scope.
Yeah, I just wanted to like just see it and get amongst that feeling, and and I think that's what I promised myself going into big wave surfing, was that I'm in control. I don't have to do it if I don't want to. I am going to call the shots. Like it's my body, it's me doing surfing these waves. So if I don't want to do it, like I almost felt like that was more empowering than saying no than just going. But
then having a film crew there as well.
At that time there was no real. The film crew Steve was there to
support,
Well, he was just there to film Russell as well.
Cross.
So I always made sure that I was on surf trips with other guys as well. So it wasn't just me, and even if it was just me, like I remember there was a couple of times I showed up to go surf Owls, and Steve and I had got up really early in the morning, and I got over there and I just looked at it and was like, I'm not feeling it today. And like that was something that I wanted to always hold on to, is that if I didn't feel like it, I didn't have to. And even if it's hard for a production, you have a production team there as well, and like I just had to not feel bad about letting them down. Just trust my gut. And that was something that I didn't really do that much when I was on tour, and I was like, I just want to do this the way that I want. And it was pretty special because Steve has so many connections in the surfing world, and hooked me up with so many of these awesome crew that helped me, you know, get some of the waves in my life. And then, you know, fast forward like a year later, and like I was calling up the crew down at Shipsterns and like getting the boat organised and was out there, and I just felt like I was in control of it again. So it was really cool, like to see how far I'd sort of come in, you know, a year and a half, and actually really diving into it. And and
how are the crew like down in Shippies? They're kind of like pirates, aren't
they? They are seriously the Tasmanian pirates. So they're awesome.
They're welcoming, like to have a, you know, a girl come down and like give it a good nudge. How was
that was like the probably like one of my biggest insecurities, to, like, you know, turning up at a new wave with all the, you know, the locals, you know, just, you know, it's hard not to think like, oh, what are they thinking? Like, what are they thinking that this like blonde girl that's been on tour for 7 years just popping up and here to surf? And you know, sometime I remember there was a surf where one of the guys said, I hope you have your big boy pants on today. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I think.
Did you say that to him?
No. I know. I was kind of just like, no, I'm good. I think I do. I don't wear pants. I actually do wear pants. I love pants. But yeah, I think I had to get over that insecurity of what other people thought of me, and just trust that, you know, I was allowed to be there. I had worked hard enough to be there. I was good enough to be there, and I could do it. So I had to just, but also once I did turn up and meet everyone, a lot of the time they were all so nice, and they were so welcoming and so stoked to see me go. Like that day when I was down at Shipsterns, I ended up waiting all day and watching, and then by the end of the day, the boys were, you know, they'd got all their waves and were so stoked, and then they threw me the tow rope, and I was like, all right, cool. And I think they were all having a couple of beers watching me. And I ended up becoming like the afternoon entertainment, just like eating crap at like, you know, 10 to 12 foot Shipsterns.
How was the first wave? Was it the tow wasn't great?
Yeah, well, no, the tow was good. I just, I went too high. I didn't really know like what I was doing. I was trying to visualize what to do on the wave, but it's so hard to realize, like, because the wave sucks up so much, it's so easy to go too high and then the wave sucks you over. So that's what I did. I looked like I thought I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in the perfect spot. Then I was like, no, I'm in the middle of the wave and you need to be at the bottom. So when it sucks you up, you know, I was up here, and so I just went whoop.
And came up laughing.
I got pretty smashed. I think everyone might have thought I was going to be in half when I came up, but I luckily wasn't.
That's an ongoing theme in the Undone book as well, from people. They were like, and I thought she was going to die, and she came up laughing.
I know, I don't know what's wrong with me there. I don't think I'd really know. It's funny, like when you're on the wave, like you can tell, you know it's big, but when I saw the photo, I was like, oh, okay, that's probably bigger than I thought.
How's the rock off down there? That's pretty terrifying. I sometimes think when I go to new spots, like the rock off.
Oh my god, the rock
scarier than the waves sometimes.
Seriously, I hate rocks.
Was there on that one?
Yeah, so actually I could probably credit Shane Ackerman to yes, he's absolutely nuts. But the day that I got down to Shipsterns for the first time, I was watching it and watching all these guys surfing, and I was like, nah, no way I'm doing that. This is just stupid. Like, it looks like the wave's breaking like 5 meters off the rock. It's like a 15-foot steppy gurgle burger, and I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, there's no way I'm doing this. And I sat there and I was like, I'm just watching. Like, I told Emily, who was filming there, and I was like, I'm not doing it. Like, this is just, I'm not going to tow here for the first time. And then
it's kind of crazy. Yeah, the first time.
And I sat there for a few hours, and I think Steve didn't have reception. We didn't have reception, so we couldn't really call and say what was happening. But Shane Ackerman came down and walked in, and I actually hadn't met him, but he came up to me and was like, I'm going to go to rock off and you should come with me. And I was like, oh, I don't think I can surf. I don't think I can do this. And he was like, well, why don't you just come rock off and just like come watch it from the channel? And I was like, you know what? I've come all this way. Like, I might as well just like get amongst it and just watch it from the channel.
Yeah.
And like do the rock off. I'm like, at least if I go home, I can be like, I rocked off at Shippies. That rock off is crazy too. Yeah. It's like the edge of the world sucks away all the water, and it's like pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
But me and Shane did the rock off, and then 3 hours later I was on a wave.
Yeah. Amazing. Sometimes you just need like, you know, you can be in your head so much, right? And you just need like someone just to be like, hey,
honestly,
I'll give you my arm, come with me.
Totally. And it was just, you know, all it takes is for, you know, someone to say, I without a doubt know you can do it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, really? And then you believe it for 1 second, then you're like, well, now that I believed it for a second, like, if I, you know, I'll be not living my truth if I don't follow through. Like, that was kind of how I felt about going to Jaws for the first time. Like, I remember sitting there, you know, and I hadn't even really ever ridden a big board, but I was watching all these videos of people at Jaws. Right. And I watched this day and I was watching all this footage, and I just for a second was like, I reckon I could do that. And once I like believed that for a second, even if like the next 5 days it was complete, that thought was not there, I still remember that I thought for a second I could. So I was like, well, you have to just at least go and try and see, and then make the call then. And that's kind of the same, you know, thing that I did when I went to the right in WA. Except a lot of things went wrong that trip, and that was just like, yeah, that was a crazy trip.
And the trips that you're doing, they're like to really remote areas.
Yeah.
And they're often prefaced by really long drives.
Yes.
And probably not in a lot of comfort. Whereas like when you're on tour or when you're going on boat trips, you know, there's hotels, there's probably some fresh food, you might get a coffee beforehand, you may have had a good night's sleep in the beds.
Totally.
But these trips that you were doing were not that.
Oh my gosh, no way, not at all. When I was on tour, I was like superstitious, and every day before my heat, my brother would have to like go get, like, find me a fresh juice and like find me a long black or whatever thing that I was like, I need to have that before my heat, otherwise I'm gonna lose. But you know, that was out the window on our trips. It's like, you're lucky if you find a good service station. I just started packing my own crackers and just like lived on crackers and hummus a lot of the time.
How many concrete slabs did you sleep on?
Oh, I think we slept on, must have been like 5 to 10 concrete slabs. And then one of the times my swag had fallen off the trailer and had a big hole in it and was. But no, it was humbling, and it was, you know, it was an adventure. Like, it never felt. It kind of was like quite humorous a lot of the times. I was like, this is so wild, but I'm rolling with it.
How did you find the motivation to surf, or to get into the mindset to then rock up to like quite an intense, scary environment? Let's put the fact that there's all these like crazy boys in the water that are expecting something from you aside. But like, how did, you know, just to be like, I've just slept on, my neck's funny, I just slept on the floor.
Yeah.
I haven't had any food, I need coffee.
Yeah, totally. Like, it was really hard. There was a lot of, I just kind of had to let go of a lot of expectations, I think, and not get affected by like a lot of exterior things. And you know, I remember, you know, you're having the crappiest night's sleep and you're like, how am I ever going to be able to like be in the zone tomorrow? And you just had to forget about it. You just had to wake up, and I guess, you know, a couple of days of waves, like it was funny, like even living here, everyone was just, you know, has quite normal jobs. That I was living with Jake's sister and her partner in our house, and I would like get up at 1 a.m. and like drive for like 4 hours and surf for 3 days and like hardly sleep, and then come home and like be in bed for a week. Yeah. I was kind of like, my whole body clock was just like, when there's waves and you're on the adventure, you just go, and then you worry about the sleeping after. Like, I actually had to stop thinking that sleep was important. As crazy as that sounds.
Did you do any specific training for big wave and like apnea training? And
I really was super focused on, you know, like I actually like I'm not the biggest fan of training, and I always have struggled to just wake up and be like, yes, I'm so pumped to train. But my trainer that I was working with, he pushed me so much, and so did another friend of mine, Ollie Doucette, and they were just like pumping me up so much, and I just kind of realised, I was like, listen, like, I don't want to get injured. I mean, sometimes you cannot avoid an injury in big wave surfing, but I was like, the thing that I'm going to feel best about is if I arrive at these waves and I feel the most prepared and I feel like my body's ready to take on anything, then I'll have more confidence to do it. So that was the biggest thing. Like, I wasn't training to, you know, get fit. I was training because I didn't want to get injured, and I wanted to just be, you know, as ready as possible. Yeah, it really was preventative training. And then the same with my breath hold training. And I actually found that, you know, I actually love breath hold training. I find it quite meditative. It's quite meditative. It's quite no, it's like meditating for me, just being under the water and switching off, and just really finding that switch off and calm place. Yeah, so I was doing a lot of training. I was probably training 4 times a week, and then doing my breath hold swimming training as well. So
what's involved in the breath hold stuff? That was one question from Mel, who's a big wave surfer in Hawaii.
Oh,
she
cool.
wanted to know what you had done.
Yeah, so Sean Woolano, he's a local like big wave surfer, and he's a lifeguard as well, and he took me through all these breath training techniques and sort of drills before I went to Jaws, and I totally credit him to all the confidence that I had to go there. And I just knew that within like 3 weeks I went from holding my breath from 30 seconds to 3 minutes, and we would get in the pool, and sort of, I guess the thing about big wave surfing is that if you fall off a wave, you're not going to have, you don't have that like a minute to like get all calm and then do your breath hold. Like the adrenaline's pumping, you're paddling, you're on the wave, and then you fall. So the way that we did our breath hold training was like I'd swim for 50 meters or something and go quite fast, and then afterwards like we'd go down and do the breath hold training, and sometimes he'd like wash me around and like swallow water, and like you'd have to just like try stay focused and try hold your breath after already having your heart rate up. So that was the biggest thing, trying to, learning how to hold my breath and while my heart rate was up. And I did that training as well with Jezza, my coach as well, and my trainer. And we would do a lot of boxing where, I'd box for like a minute or 30 seconds, and then I'd have to box for like 30 seconds holding my breath and like as hard as I could, and you'd like go blue.
Yeah, right.
But you're trying to hold your breath while heart rate's up, because I guess you don't have that luxury of, calming your heart rate to do those like long,
it's not like
static breath holds.
Free diving.
Yeah, I feel like free diving is probably you can be a lot calmer and then, go down and do it. So, yeah.
Interesting, yeah, because Shane Ackerman, bodyboarder, we were just talking about, he spearfishes a lot,
yeah,
dives a lot, and he says that's the only kind of training he does.
Yeah, I think it's still like if you can hold your breath for over 3 to 4 minutes, you're pretty stoked.
I can't do that.
But you get good quickly, but you lose it quickly. Like if I held my breath now, I've been just sitting at my computer trying to get this launched on for like 3 weeks. I don't think I'd be able to hold my breath very long. But
what was the scariest experience that you had in this filming, like a particular wave or a trip?
Yes, the scariest experience I had was surfing the ride in WA. And that was probably the one time in the film where my mind totally got the better of me. A lot of waves that I was surfing, I really was really proud of how I would get myself in the zone and push away the negative thoughts and really push myself, and had the confidence and was just in the right place and was in my flow sort of. But surfing at the right was just kind of all that was out the window, and I locked up, and I was just couldn't get rid of the negative thoughts, and actually had to take myself through some proper breathing techniques out there with Shannon Worrell, who was helping me out there. And it was just like one of those situations where we'd done the drive over from Sydney to WA and so much had gone wrong, and I just started thinking, well, if everything's going wrong, more things are going to go wrong. And it was like just playing on my mind that just everything was going to go wrong.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't get that out of my head. I'm like, something's going to go wrong, something's going to go wrong. And even if I was just sitting out there waiting for the wave, I was like, I couldn't stop thinking about, sharks. I couldn't stop thinking about getting injured. I couldn't, just like that worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And usually I'm like, I was blocking that off at every other sort of wave and could, not believe that. But yeah, I had to, that was the one time when I had to just really get out of the water and be like, I just have to stop and I have to go sit here for a second and get control of myself again. And that experience was actually quite similar to a lot of the times when I'd have a bit of a panic attack in heats on tour, and that probably started happening like my second year on tour, and I would just have these like overwhelming panic attacks where, you know, I just could not perform and I couldn't get over it. And I mean, the good thing about big wave surfing is that it's not just like a 30-minute heat. I could just sit there for 30 minutes and get control of myself before I wanted to try again. But I got over it, which was a good thing.
And how did it go with the wave?
I mean, I didn't get the wave that I wanted, and the waves were, I think there was a lot, there was a few factors that went into that as well. Like the waves didn't really show up. It was super windy, and every other wave that I'd been to for the first time, I had, you know, I got to watch a guy surf it first, and that was that thing where I got to see someone surf it, you know, that's been doing it, you know, and all the guys that chase these swells, and I could watch them and see what line they take, and then I could sit on the boat there I could sit on the boat or on my jet ski and just like watch and then try, and I could kind of visualize, and I just tried to like imagine myself doing what they'd done in my head. And I didn't have that luxury at the right. There was no one there to watch, and it was just me out there, and we'd driven. No one was surfing. Oh, wow. It was like really, really, the whole forecast had changed, but you know, we'd driven like 5 days over there, and so I was like, I still want to give it a try, like we've come all this way. And I kind of fell apart, but you know, I didn't get the wave that I sort of imagined myself getting. But I think that's the good thing about the film, like it's the first time I went there, and you know, even speaking to Shannon Worrell, he was like, you know, it takes some guys 5 years to get the wave of their life at this wave. Like, this was, you know, the very first documented experience of me going to the right, and like, I couldn't have expected to get a bomb barrel. Like, I'm actually glad that I didn't, because it's lit, you know, I'm still fired up to like now go back and, you know, get sort of, you know, get a wave.
I think the beautiful thing about Undone is that it's not like zero to hero. It is in a sense.
No, it's not. It's kind of a whole lot
through your journey.
Yeah.
Right? It's like a chapter of, like you've done competitive surfing. You were a junior world champion. You're beautiful, like fashionista. I bought this because of Laura from Billabong, because she was wearing it when we last met, and I was like, I'm getting that. It's amazing.
It looks really good.
Thank you. You've done, you know, you're doing lots of out of industry cool stuff. And like you've just done you've seen all facets of surfing, right? You've been around for a while, and it's awesome. And thanks. We've watched you. Now you're going. You've always loved big waves.
Yeah. Like, I've always had a bit of a screw loose there. I've always loved it.
Yeah. The guy that I'm dating at the moment, some Northie boy from Board Riders, who was saying you were crazy when you were younger, trying to jump off when it was big. So you've always loved big waves.
Yeah.
And now we watched this like transition in the film, and we watch your hesitation, and we see this really like amazing girl wanting to do it and then doing it, and then it's so honest.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's the thing, like I actually came to terms with like this isn't a film of me at the peak of my big wave surfing career. Like it is me making, you know, just navigating the transition, like it, and I'm actually so glad. Like you know, I have no doubt that I'm going to get better waves, you know, in the future, and like, you know, keep surfing big waves and get a better wave at Jaws and get a better wave at the right, and you know, just keep getting more and more confident. But I'm actually just so glad that all those moments were captured. And especially, even though like I know Steve was kind of like, I know we could have got better stuff, and I'm like, I'll get a better wave one day, but I actually think it's the perfect story because it's real, and it, you know, we could have dragged the movie out for another year and gone back to the right and got a really good wave there, but you know, the story was that I went there, it didn't work out. I still got some waves, but you know,
it's
just the journey. So, and it's honest. So,
and I think for women, and especially like young girls that watch it, like big wave surfing is this thing that probably not a lot of us are going to do. You know, 2 to 3 foot
totally
is
okay.
probably more what people
But even if girls are like
do.
looking at it when it's 2 foot and they're like, oh, like there's so many guys out, I'm a bit intimidated by the boys, like they're not very welcoming, like that's when I just hope that girls can be like, okay, like I can just like this, just got to stop worrying what people think and just be like, I'm allowed to be out here.
Yeah.
And that was the one thing I was always so worried about, like wiping out in front of the boys and then thinking like, she's not good enough to be here, why is she here? But then I was like, excuse me, all you guys wipe out. How come you're allowed to wipe out and I'm not? Yeah. But that was just something that I was thinking. So I'm like, if there's any girl out there that's, you know, worried about, you know, stacking it in front of the boys, it's like, they all stack it. We're allowed to stack it too.
Totally. I heard a beautiful story the other day. A friend of ours, well, Steve's girlfriend, they went to a wave that's quite a tough wave. I don't know if Steve's told you this. And she was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to paddle out. All the boys are out. She's the only girl. And she was like, what would Laura do? And she said that to herself.
Gosh,
she was like,
so
Laura would grab her board and go. And she grabbed her board and went.
Oh my God.
And I think like lots of young girls will be asking that same question in that sense.
And that's the thing, the biggest thing that I think that I would want to tell anyone is that even if you are feeling a bit uncomfortable, it doesn't mean that, like, if you go out there and just put yourself in that situation, you don't have to get the bomb of the day, you don't even have to get a wave, but to take that first step, you know, you could come in and be like, cool, I just took that first step and now next time maybe I'll get a wave, or maybe next time like I'll know what it feels like out there. And it's just like those baby steps to like work up. And I think that's what I realised, those little internal wins are like actually the big wins, and they're the things that are going to make, you know, even if no one else will be like, oh, you didn't get a wave, you'd be like, well, I actually am just so proud of myself that I just sat out there. And yeah.
So good. We've got a few questions from some of the Still Stoked readers, so I'll throw a few of them at you. And yeah, it was amazing just to say so many people are so proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
People that know you are so proud of you, like all our mutual friends, but like just the women in our Still Stoked community that are like, oh my God, I can't wait to watch the film. Like, how does she do that? Because they see themselves in you as well. You're not like, you know, you're little.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Well, and that was the thing. I was like, I remember Shannon Worrell wrote somewhere, he's like, I wanted to go to the ride, and he looked me up on Instagram and he was like, this like cocktail drinking like fashion girl wants to come surf the ride. He's like, what? Yeah. And I'm like, I think, and that's, you know, in the last couple of years, that's something that I just had to like, I totally accept about myself, is that one minute I'm like I can be a proper tomboy and like love snowboarding and surfing and, you know, doing all of that and camping on the side of the road. Can't say I absolutely love that, but then the next minute I like love being like in the city, and I love being into fashion and art and being super girly. So
that's great.
Yeah,
that's
love like both sides. Yeah. I think we've all got both of those sides in us, and kind of just like knowing that when you just accept them all, it can be
I think there's a lot to be said for that. Like, I struggle sometimes showing my feminine side because I feel like it might make me appear weaker. And I know like a lot of other female athletes have kind of suppressed that as well. Yeah. And so it's really nice that there's like yourself and Steph and all of the other girls on tour. That
well, I remember even wondering about whether I wanted to have like pink boards for the film, and you know, I was like, I wanted, you know, I was like, I want to get these pastel boards and these pastel wetsuits, and I was like, is that a bit crazy rocking up like blonde girl with pastel boards and wetsuits to go surf these waves? And I was like, nah, that's cool.
Yeah, so cool. Billabong are releasing a range, right?
I think, well, they're doing custom wetsuits, so you can basically go on and choose all your colours and stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then I got the pink backdrop. Me and Maddie Dunbar did a photo shoot here the other day for the Undone promo.
Great.
Yeah, it's very fun. I've just kept it there.
It's a Suit Up for Undone premiere tomorrow night, right?
Yeah. It'll be cool to see.
Suits, I saw you.
I've had so many people be like, I'm wearing my birthday suit. I'm like, well, I'm not going to repost it, but just put an emoji over it if you do it.
So good.
Yeah.
All right, I'll give you these questions. How has your perception of surfing shifted throughout this process?
Yeah, my perception has changed a lot. I think, you know, it's been such a journey for me, and I feel like I've just, you know, been able to just change and evolve and accept that there's so many different types of surfing. And for me, like, one minute I could love, you know, watching the girls compete, and then just absolutely love free surfing, and then just love big wave surfing. And I don't know, I guess it's, you see so many people just doing it for the joy. Like, a lot of the guys that come to these, you know, come and surf these big waves, they all work full time. A lot of them aren't really sponsored. Like, that's the odd few that are, but you know, they all just live and breathe these waves that just keep them alive, really. So I think seeing that is, you know, so amazing. And I think the older I get, the more I realise just how amazing just riding waves is, and, you know, not doing it with any expectation and just doing it for fun. And yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's so organic, really. Like, some of the guys down there that, you know, they're crane operators, they're
totally
like fireys, like jugheads.
Yeah, they work. They just work to surf and work. Yeah, I guess it's that saying. It's like, what is it? Work to live, don't live to work, sort of thing. So you see so many people doing that, and you're like, that's what it's all about.
Cool. Sal Bishop asked, how do you manage your fear of big waves?
Yeah, that, I guess I kind of answered that earlier, but I mean, a lot of breathing techniques have worked where that's been at, like, you know, really bad sort of panicky sort of times, but a lot of the times just not believing the negative thoughts. It's always stuck with me that, like, the only thing to be scared of is fear, and I think that's so true. Like, I would, before a surf trip, a big wave surf trip, I'd sort of be going through all these different emotions. Like, the first day I'm like, yes, I'm stoked. Then, like, the next 2 days, because, you know, you have like a week leading up to the wave, and you're like, oh my God, what if I broke my leg? What if I drown? What if I break my neck? Like, you know, you have all these like worst case scenarios that pop in, then you're like, shut up, just shut up. And I think just taking those step forwards and taking the step forward, but also just doing it honestly and truthfully is how I sort of manage the fear, and just trusting myself, not being afraid to say no, but if it felt right, doing it. Yeah.
So there's a beautiful question from Angie in Ecuador, and she says you're her idol. And she said, you won the world junior title. Were you scared to see that you are now a legend, even though without winning a WSL event?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I had to drop when I was on tour. Like, yeah, I won the world junior title, and I had so many amazing results as a junior surfer. I was, you know, constantly battling with Sally Fitzgibbons, and, you know, we were going back to back for wins, and that was when we were like 16, 17, and, you know, I feel like when I got on tour, I was my own worst enemy, and I just couldn't get over so many mental hurdles and perform the way I wanted to. And I think my second year on tour, I made my first ever final, and then I could never get that far again. But I eventually started realizing that, to me, you know, winning wasn't everything. And a result, you know, for a while I started getting really upset that I wasn't, you know, getting any results, and, you know, I'd lose confidence if, you know, I'd lose, and I'd have a losing streak and feel like crap, and then make a heat and feel confident, and that started, like, those results were defining me for a long time, for probably a couple of years, until I realised that was just no way to live, and I just dropped it. I was like, listen, I'd rather just be here and enjoying myself, and, you know, maybe I'm not as competitive or whatever, but I think I just accepted that. And not to say that I settled for less, but I settled for being happy with what I was doing, and, like, having my own goals, not this goal of the world title that is so just, like, looked at, or this goal of, like, winning a contest. And yeah, I know I always kind of, like, have this little thing in the back of my head that you know, I've learned so much about myself in the last, you know, been able to reflect on my time on the tour, and maybe I could go back and win a contest with all this newfound mental knowledge and reflection. But yeah, it doesn't faze me, to be honest, to answer that question. Like I'm so proud of all the things that I've overcome personally in the last 5 years. So yeah.
But you are a legend. You're an idol to a girl in Ecuador who like looks up to you, you know. And it's like my favourite surfers aren't the pro surfers on comps. Like, you know, like
that's the thing. Winning isn't. I don't know. Winning's not everything, and I think I realised that. I'm like, you know.
Yeah. I snowboarded professionally for years and I hated competing.
Yeah.
I just didn't do it. I went the free side, like the filming side and the free side more because it's like the arty expression of your soul.
Totally. And that
makes you happier.
Yeah, and that's like that thing where I won the contest and I won the Oz Open, and I was like juggling between the contest and what felt better, that free surfing for the soul. Like a lot of my best waves weren't even filmed on that trip, and I just remember being, you know, getting the barrel of my life back then and coming out being like, how could anything ever be better than this? And chase that. And you know, and at the same time, you know, the pay had become equal for women on the tour, and I like walked away from like equal pay and walked away from, you know, even those big, you know, the big prize money and stuff, and just to spend my money trying to get barreled.
But that's your authentic journey, right?
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't
be here today
totally.
if you were still doing, you know,
if I was still slugging away and chasing the points. So yeah, I'm proud of myself that I made that decision, and even though it felt like the biggest risk ever, like that at times was like more that decision to leave was at times harder than even like surfing the waves. And then, you know, wondering if I'd made a mistake or if I was, you know, I'm happy with the mistake. I'm happy with what I did.
This whole new world's just opened up to you. You know, how exciting is that?
Yeah, it's super exciting. I'm after the launch, I just can't wait to work on what I want to do next.
Can you talk about that? What you want to do next?
Well, I can only think about one thing at a time. So I'm thinking about the launch, and then I can't think too far ahead, to be honest. And I guess we can't really with what's going on. Like, you know, before, you know, all the restrictions, I would have loved, my goal was to paddle into waves more. So I've done a lot of towing, and I want to paddle into big waves. So I was looking at like big Fiji, big Chopes, back to big Peepass, and, you know, maybe warm places. Yeah. That sounded like a bit of a theme. Undone, the warm version.
Yeah, right. How did you like Chopu? Because you stayed at Tahorai's house, right?
Yeah.
I lived there for a little bit last July.
No way.
And it rained the entire time.
Oh my God, well, it rained our entire trip too. Like it was, we went to Tahiti, and we thought we were going for like this perfect like 6 to 8 foot swell at Chopes, and it ended up being like a flop, and it just rained.
Tell you that it's the rainiest place in the South Pacific.
No, totally.
Yeah.
You always see those. You always see all those photos of just all the pretty crystal clear blue days.
Yeah, it's a beautiful spot. I went to try and surf it and I didn't. I mean, I'm nowhere near your skill set, but just to take that drop and knife in.
Yeah.
You know, and I just like I looked at it for a month.
Yeah.
And didn't even when it was small, it was right onto the reef.
Totally, and I think that's the one. I learned how to like do that knife in, you know, paddle and knife in at Cloudbreak, and I think maybe it's a bit more forgiving there, like it's a bit deeper, so you fall off on those. I took a lot of big fall offs at Cloudbreak before I finally like got the hang of knifing it and pulling up under on my backside.
Yeah,
but it is hard.
Did you spend a lot of time at Cloudbreak before it came on tour, just to get the hang of it?
I went on one trip to Cloudbreak before it went on tour, and that was kind of like my trip where I wanted to try to learn to get barreled, and still to this day we just scored it perfectly, and no one was around, and I think I just lost in the Quiksilver Pro first heat, or the Roxy Pro first heat, and there was like this cyclone coming, and I just left the next day and went and surfed pumping waves.
Yeah, good.
Yep. So
again,
that was
chase what makes you happy.
Yeah.
There's a questions from Kylie, and she was asking, how do you take big drops and not miss out?
Well, I was doing, it was with Undone, I was doing a lot of towing, but with paddling into these waves, it's just all like getting into it. Like as soon as you make that decision to go and you paddle, it's just that commitment. And I think, you know, you get this part of you before you take off that like your heart skips up into your throat and you're like, oh, I could either pull back now and like, you know, save not, you know, going over, or just trying. And I think once you sort of push yourself over that ledge, even if you don't make it, you kind of realize you get a bit pounded. You've just probably, you stacked it in front of people, but being like, well, at least I tried. It's like, it's not that bad. And I think even when I was younger, I just started, I'd even do some things where I'd, on a sucky sort of day, I'd even try find a little closeout and practice paddling in and doing my drops and then pulling up and stuff. So even finding waves like that to, you know, when there's maybe even no one around to sort of to practice.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I can't like pull it in my back, like doggy door in my backhand. Like
it's
hard. I'm learning, but I shouldn't be practicing it on a big day. I should be practicing it.
Yeah, it's good to practice on a small day. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Steve will like that. He's like, he's trying to get me to bodyboard at the moment. He's like, oh, you should get into bodyboarding.
It's awesome. I think my brother taught me how to pull in on my backside for the first time, and he's like we were in Fiji, and this was actually before, like the first time I ever went to Fiji, actually for the first contest, I'd never been there before. So a lot of the girls on tour had never been there, and we were like, all of a sudden we all had to like learn overnight how to pig dog, because it was like this 10-foot swell was on the way, and no one really knew how to do that because they put the comp on and we'd all been super busy, and then just arrived to this huge swell on the way. And so I remember the night before the comp, my brother was trying to like explain to me how to grab my rail, and basically, it was pretty hilarious.
Watching that comp at Cloudbreak, the girls the first year, and then the improvement the second year was mind-blowing.
Totally. I think everyone got this wake-up call and was like, all right, the girls are back on in Waves of Consequence, and let's, you know, get more confident. Because I think for so long, like, you know, growing up, I remember watching Blue Crush and, you know, watching those girls that surf pipe, but then, you know, didn't really, you know, it was never really a thing that we had to ever feel like we had to do, because we didn't have a contest there, and we didn't have a contest at Chopu, and we didn't have a contest at Cloudbreak. And, you know, now that's all finally changing. I think from a young age now, girls will be going to wave pools, learning how to pig dog and drop in and get really good in barrels. And it's, you know, we're going to eventually be, they're probably going to make more contests at Chopes and probably put the girls at Pipe one day again, and
I hope so.
Put hopefully back at Cloudbreak. And if they do that, I'll probably try to get back on tour.
Yeah. Do you want to do the Big Wave tour?
Oh. Jake, one sec.
Come in.
Hey, we're doing a video.
Oh, is it a one take thing?
Yeah. 1 second.
We're almost done.
We'll cut that one out.
Do you want to do the big wave tour if it comes back?
Yeah, I would love. My goal is to get into the Jaws event and to get some good waves at Jaws. I finally went back there after my injury, and it was like pretty crappy, really windy, but I finally got down the face of a wave, and it was amazing. Yeah. So I do really want to do more paddle surfing and get some good waves at Jaws. And I mean, I'll see what happens about those big tow waves like Nazare and you know, all that, but I just love getting big barrels, so I feel like that's what makes me really happy, so we'll see what happens.
Go for it. I think that's a really good note to end on.
Oh,
you're a legend.
Thanks, Lex.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.
Say bye to the Still Stoked girls. Stay stoked.
Yeah, thank you so much. Like, you've inspired me heaps as well.
Thanks, Lex.
and there's a big swell arriving tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. I haven't really decided what I'm doing about that yet.
Yeah, I'm going to try and throw myself over a ledge somewhere. And yeah,
awesome.
So yeah, thank you. You've been a huge inspiration to me. You're a huge inspiration to all the Still State readers.
Oh, thanks, guys.
The movie's incredible. You should be incredibly proud of yourself.
I got there.
Yeah, well done the whole team.
Yes, the whole team did so amazing. Steve, the best.
Yeah, everyone did.
We all dedicated a lot of time and energy and love into it.
Yeah.
So.
And let's hope. I think everyone's really proud of you, and we'll watch what comes next.
Oh, thanks, guys.